Hi, welcome to the books that I read in January. Welcome to the books that I read in January. Welcome to the video where I talk about the books that I read in January. I'm gonna check on my Storygraph for a moment, which is on my phone, and I'll tell you what I read. So the first book that I read of the year was Amina Cain, A Horse at Night, on writing. I loved this book so much, okay? But first I have to tell you something so funny and cute, okay? So my dad wanted to give me this book for Christmas. And I told him I really want also this edition with this cover. And he couldn't find a way to get it in time for Christmas, okay? So what did he do? Because he's the cutest, sweetest dad ever. This is the actual cover. This is by Daunt Books in the UK. Also, absolutely fabulous cover. But he managed to find the cover of the Dorothy editions and make a high quality print out of it and make it a jacket for the book. I don't know if that's highly illegal in the publishing world, but I think that is the cutest thing my father could have ever done. Amina Cain, love her so much. I love her writing. Her two books that I read last year, one of which being Indelicacy, that I just loved that book. I have a whole video about it. This is her book about the act of writing and the craft, and also reading, and how reading influences writing. And I just loved everything about it. Also amazing first book to start the year with. She takes you through a canon of great authors that she loves and kind of dissects what she likes about their writing, what's strong about their fiction. And also this book speaks a lot about fiction. What is fiction? What can fiction be? How do our lives interact with the books that we read? What is our relationship to words that we read on a page? And what is fiction? Jalen did a lovely interview with her on his podcast, Reading the Room, which I will absolutely link downstairs because you must watch it. I really like Amina Cain. I will read forever whatever she writes. And we chat a little bit on Instagram, so I feel very privileged. This puts it really well. A Horse at Night is a virtuosic argument for and beautiful demonstration of the essential unity of writing and life. And I'm it's annotated the house down, boots. Made me feel warm and cozy and inspired, and if you could have lit a candle but inside my body. That's what I felt. Next up, I read DeLillo, The Body Artist. Sorry, there's a glare going on here. Very prolific American author. There aren't a lot of white men on my bookshelves, but this was a book that I had seen in a few bookstores, secondhand bookstores, and I liked, as a dancer, The Body Artist appeals to me, obviously, and so I was drawn to this, what sounded like the main character is a performance artist, and so that was what caught my eye at first. And obviously I was Don DeLillo is a very famous author, so I should, I guess, at some point read something that he's written, and most of his books are quite big. And this is thin, which is more my vibe. And this was crazy. Wow, I thought this was so good. I mean, these were my first two reads of the year, so try to top it. Following a performance artist who is playing with the limits of her body, the extremes she can put her body through, and she's married to a film director that's much, much older than her, and he commits suicide, and she is grieving the loss of him. So this book is about grief, and it becomes a kind of ghost story because she's staying in they were staying together in this kind of rented holiday home, and one night he drives away and doesn't come back, and shoots himself in the house of his ex-wife. And she decides to stay in this holiday home after the news of the death and like stay there for, I don't know, like a month or two more alone. And she finds a presence of another person residing in the home with her, that you're not really ever sure is real or not, is there or isn't. And this is described as a metaphysical ghost story about a woman alone, intimate, spare, exquisite. It is very strange, very uncanny, which I like elements of that in fiction a lot. And also the way that it's written, it's very unique, very kind of cold and clinical, but also highly descriptive, like in the very, very small, tiny ways. And something feels like very emotional, but very detached and robotic about it. Like it's very, very hard to explain. And the way that the book functions, what it does with time and space, it's a total mind fuck. This book is a mind fuck in a it's a psychodrama, kind of. There's like a seductive sense without the language being so super flowery. It did give me like weird sensations in my body while I was reading it. So fucking fabulous. Don DeLillo blew me away with this. I need to read now more of his work. And this is a book that I will be rereading many times and giving to all my friends. Then I read The Choreography of Everyday Life by Annie B. Parson. This was an arc that I got on NetGalley. Annie B. Parson is an American choreographer. She's speaking about choreography when it comes to dance, and she's referring to a lot of postmodern, well, not a lot, mostly Trisha Brown, I guess like one of the most famous postmodern choreographers in American culture, and kind of dissecting her work and their relationship, and speaking about things that are interesting to her in choreography. But then she's also talking about the choreography of everyday life. So you have choreography of a performance, and then you have like the way that the world and bodies in space and bodies in society function and how they resemble choreographies. I liked this book. I didn't think for me specifically it was like groundbreaking to think about things the way that she does in this book. I think maybe for other people it would be. I mean, of course, my whole life is about the body in space, and so I feel like it's common for me to think about, to look at the world outside of dance and see elements of dance and choreography within everyday life. Like that's a kind of door of perception that's already open for me. So in that sense, this wasn't like, wow, what a new way to think about the things that I see in life. But it was interesting to anyway read her words on it. So specifically like bodies in protest, and also about COVID and how that changes the choreography of life. All of a sudden people need to keep distance from each other. And the small ways in which we communicate as humans without words. like how we navigate like a busy street. We're in a way kind of either agreeing or disagreeing to the choreography that's happening in the space of bodies. It just felt like things that I kind of already think about. Then I read my book club pick for January. My book club happens via Patreon, so I'll leave the link for that downstairs. I'm out of breath. And we read The Door by Magda Szabo. I lent the book to someone else who wants to finish it before the book club discussion, so I don't have it to hold for you physically, although it's a beautiful vintage cover. Wow, I enjoyed this book a lot. I'm really glad that I read it. Magda Szabo is a Hungarian author. It's translated by Len Rex, I think is the name. Len Rex, something. The story is following Magda, our main character, who's a writer living in Budapest and living with her husband. And they hire a housekeeper named Emerence, or Emerence, as it's said in the audiobook that I was listening to. So I guess Emerence. And she is an older woman, and she is highly regarded as a housekeeper, but she's very like she wouldn't just be a housekeeper for anyone. Like, she has standards. Like, she will decide who she works for. And she keeps a lot of secrets from Magda, and the whole book is like this slow burn, okay? It's slower pace of a book that I normally read, which made it like sometimes challenging, but in a way I also grew to really love that, and now I want to like read slower paced books, because the experience is different and you get like really sucked in and invested in the characters. So we're following like a slow burn of 20 years of like more than 20 years basically of a friendship and kind of bond between these two women. And I can't help but feel like it's Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend fraught female friendship, just they're grown up and they're in Hungary. And it's by Magda Szabo. Like, obsessed with each other in different ways from different angles, and the kind of constant disappointment, but also incredible love that's there between them, but also pain, and also how they hurt each other. And it was just really good, really, really well done. And the ending is like, I flew through the end actually. Once I got like about just the 75% mark, I couldn't put it down. And there's an amazing first prologue of like 3 pages, which starts it off with such a vibe and like this like impending doom of some kind that you like go into the story knowing, which I won't tell you even because I don't want to spoil it in those 3 pages even, but it's really well written, it's really strong, and it's truly more of like a character study than I've ever read before. Like, I haven't spent that much time with 2 characters and the ins and outs of their relationship over a long period of time. It's just not normally the kind of thing that I'm reading, but it's done so well, and like eclectic. Emerence is a fucking eclectic ass old woman. Her face is veiled. It's dark. I would like to say that this book is very, very dark, which like I like. I see you, Magda. I like the darkness, but it's dark, so just be aware that it can be heavy. I really look forward to the Zoom meeting on Patreon. next week about The Door, and let me know what your thoughts were. If you read it and you're not on the Patreon, you can please feel free to write your thoughts downstairs on this video. I would love to hear what you thought about it, if you read it along with me or if you've read it in the past. The end of the month was, I started reading Delphi, or Delphi, I don't know which one it is actually, by Clare, Pollard. But I didn't finish it until this morning, which it's February, so I will talk about it in a February wrap up. But it's a COVID book, baby. It's COVID. So if you're interested in a COVID book and you like to read about that period of our lives, then I would point you in this direction because it's doing all that. It's doing the most. Like four and a half books. So not that much. But I had a kind of crazy month and didn't really have time for much more reading than that, obviously. So, yeah, but a great first reading month of the year, I do think so. Let me know what you read this past month. Let me know what's on your TBR. What are you reading in February? The new book club pick is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. So I will be reading that. If you'd like to join, you can read along with me. Thanks for watching. Oh, something in the eye. Bye.